Hey everybody, this is Elijah Kraft.
I'm Nate House.
And you're watching Kraft House Media.
And now, let's all laugh.
Tonight we wanted to share a little bit about imposter syndrome. This might be not something that you're too familiar with, but if you're being affected by it, it'll be a really profound challenge.
So it's really important to recognize first what imposter syndrome is. So I'll ask Nate, what is imposter syndrome?
So imposter syndrome is that feeling that if someone discovers what I really know or what I really am, they're going to know that I'm an imposter. And the problem with this is that it can happen really to anyone that's trying to do something new, challenging, or difficult. So if you find yourself in a situation where you're doing something that's worthwhile, uncomfortable, new, challenging, you might be experiencing imposter syndrome if you get that feeling that I'm so worried they're going to find out that I can't do this. And so we wanted to share a few ideas of what is you can do to manage this. And maybe to start, have you ever had an experience where you felt like, oh, I have imposter syndrome?
Most definitely. So my personal experience starts in college, where I never finished my degree. I went straight into the corporate world, and I was working a fairly complex job at the time that I really didn't feel like I had any competency in. So it was a process for me of growing into the role and growing and learning about myself, learning that I had the capacity to contribute value in a way which I had not previously done before. It was a matter of recognizing the fact that I actually did have value to contribute, which was at the root cause of why I felt like I had something to hide. At the time, I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea about the job itself. I had no idea about the kind of people that I'd be working with or the corporate landscape. It was my first time actually working in a corporate space. So I was going in headfirst into the deep end. And that's really scary for me. I think it'd be really scary for anybody. You know, I had this game that I played with myself, of which I hope they don't find me out. Everybody here in this corporate office knows so much more than I do. I'm just little old me, and I don't know anything. I don't have any value to contribute. What I had to do was take a step back, turn to my association, the people who were supporting me and helping me get into the role at the time, and realize that I actually did have the capacity to serve the people that I was working with, to contribute value to the company. Mm-hmm. It was a really profound experience because I learned and stretched myself to realize that I'm much more than this problem that I put on myself. That I actually do have value to contribute, that I can learn, and that I'm not just this little incompetent person.
Mm-hmm. So about 2 years ago, I started a PhD program here in St. Louis, and I had been out of academia for 10 years, working in clinical experiences and social work, but really had gotten pretty far away from reading and writing papers, doing any kind of studies per se. I felt too quite ill-prepared, and if they only discover just how poorly I'm doing right now, they're going to obviously tell me I have to go home. But the truth was that they knew exactly how poorly prepared I was, but they accommodated all the steps that I would need to take to be able to do the work I needed to do, and that everyone with me was also in similar shape. And so there's a couple things that I think we need to talk about, what do you do when you can recognize, wow, I feel like an imposter. Now what do I do?
Sure, that's a very valid question. It's a good place to start. So if you recognize, for one, that you do have imposter syndrome, you can turn to people in your association who recognize the value that you inherently have to offer. For me personally, that's exactly what I did. I had a good support system. I had a mentor who believed in me, who spoke into me, and constantly reminded me that I did actually have value to offer. So if you don't have a community behind you, if you don't have that kind of support system, then what are some other things that you think you can do to recognize that you have imposter syndrome?
So you need to then really start to recognize your own self-worth and think about, what is it that brought me to this point? And what do I need to do next? There's nothing outside of yourself that's going to solve your problem. And so it's great. Like, I think both of us had a great peer structure. I had a great mentor as well, helping me move forward. But unless I was able to believe myself worthy, believe myself that I belonged, that wasn't going to change anything. So I would still have those feelings. Like, only myself can have my feelings. And so that was an important step for me to take, was to address it and then think about, like, okay, these are feelings. Are they valid, or do I need to challenge them?
One thing I want to point out about imposter syndrome is the idea that we have certain models about who we think we are and about what we think we're capable of doing. When we have imposter syndrome, for example, what that is that's us experiencing a situation or an environment or people or relationships that contradict or run contradictory to the models that we have about who we think we are and what we think we're capable of. And we should recognize, before anything else, that it's a good thing to challenge our models. Our models are mental constructs, they're not actually reality. When we're pushing past something that makes us feel uncomfortable, when we're pushing past something that makes us fearful, it's a good, natural thing to do. And all it is us learning to experience the world in a different way that we haven't previously experienced before. So it's our models that keep us confined into believing that we are this kind of person capable of doing X, Y, or Z.
Like, you can't believe that you could be more. Like, maybe you need to challenge your belief that, like, I can only be little old me, whatever that is. Like, I can only rise this high, I can't keep going. And so challenging that would also break that belief that I can't be more.
Self-image plays a huge part in imposter syndrome because you have to grow your self-image to accommodate the situation or the environment that you're in.
And that can take a lot of work. So if there's feelings that you're having that, oh, I don't belong, or oh, I'll be found out, it could be that you're discovering that you can grow, and that kind of frightens you. It makes you have to believe that if I grow and I become even greater than I am, I'll have to step forward. And that's a very frightening prospect for some people.
It's not our darkness that most frightens us, it's our light. It's the fear that we are much greater than we ever suspected that we ever were. And it's breaking that mold and that identity about who we thought we were and who and what we thought we were capable of doing, which actually causes us to grow and allow other people to grow in our presence as well. So in saying all of that, what we want to do is I have a very clear vision of who we want to become as a person. What do we want our personality to be like? What do we want our character? What do we want our values to be centered around? Who do we really want to become in the future? And is the person that we're acting as today that person? If not, what steps can we take to come a little bit closer, just 1% closer to the person that we want to become? Having a vision for the person that you idealize, having a vision for the person that you want to become is going to drive you through the fear of having to grow through uncertainty.
The journey that we're going to go on is many steps, but and you can't get there in one step. But in one step, you can turn in any direction. That was a quote I heard a long time ago, and it's a very frightening prospect to change course and to take a step in a new direction. And so maybe that's part of imposter syndrome, is like, oh, I've been going this way my whole life. Now I'm going to go this way a step, and it feels very odd to try to do something like that. So if you're taking a challenge, if you're doing something difficult, if it's something new, I want to applaud you, tell you to give yourself a pat on the back. That's really great work. And even if it's challenging or if it feels uncomfortable, press onward. Thank you so much for tuning into Craft House Media. I hope you found something of value. I hope that you were reminded that you have value. And if you liked what you heard, please subscribe and please share.
Leave a comment as well in the comments below. And let us know a time that you faced imposter syndrome or a time where you felt like you didn't belong somewhere. We want to hear from you guys. So much love. We'll see you in the next video.
Thank you.